And we're live.
All right. I will call the community development meeting to order. We have members Mark Anderson, Jeremy Varner, and Chair Nancy Montgomery, and Mayor Dale Cowhall, and Clerk Brian Fott here. So the first thing we need to do is approve the meetings from the last meeting, which was January 12th. Are there any questions or?
I make a motion to approve.
I'm sure I'll second. He's just running out ahead of me here. Yeah, I second.
Yeah, I was reading while you were looking
Okay.
that up.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Aye, motion passed. Those are approved. Okay, Dora report. Jeremy, you were going to go out about town and talk to some people that it affected.
Yeah. So this is going to come down to how much time do you have? Because there's a really good experience in touching base with lots of people. So if I start over talking, you just call me
I
down.
think it's important to hear what people
Yeah.
are saying.
So the first thing I want to say for sure is that I'm not done pounding the pavement. There's not everybody was available when I went, but I did get to see a lot of people so far. And so as I was out there, when I'm doing face-to-face stuff, I'm going to break this down a little bit. So I had the range of reception I got on the door project was from neutral to enthusiastic, with the vast majority of people in between and some version of cautiously optimistic, but we'd like to know more about it kind of a thing. That's when I'm doing the face-to-face running around in the proposed area there on the square. If I could summarize what I heard, there were three major comments that were made. One was cautious optimism. Two is essentially everybody said, I'd love to know more about it. And the third comment that I heard most often was probably the saddest one for me. This came from business owners, not from private citizens, but from business owners on the square. And I had several of them say to me, almost as an afterthought at the end, well, go ahead. It's probably not going to affect me because the square rolls up the sidewalks at 5 o'clock, and that's when I close down my business. DORA participants will probably come out later than that, and so that probably won't impact my business. And that really kind of, one, made me sad that that's a true thing, but two, it also was motivating me to try to get this going because the whole point is to get people on the square. So it initiates a discussion about what time the DORA might start, how it can be an economic driver for businesses. The thought in my head is that if businesses they're only going to stay open later if there's a reason to. And there's two ways to have that happen. One is that either they initiate and stay open until people recognize that and start coming. And if they do that, they're going to lose money. The other way is to flip it over. If we get people on the square, then they can respond to it and might consider staying open later because there's people to sell to. That was so much time talking about just the basic economics.
What comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Right. I also got to, because I was in several of the businesses too, got to talk to people, shoppers in the stores. And that was kind of cool, but I have no idea of tracking where they live in relationship to this whole thing, but it was really good information. Let's see here. I did, now to be completely fair, I got my first negative interaction on this from a citizen today, and they were against it. Very rational, reasonable, philosophical reasons. It wasn't somebody who I think was operating out of incorrect facts or something like that. It's just they were philosophically not in favor of it. So I appreciate that person for contacting and letting us know.
Excuse me for interrupting.
Yeah, Mark, go ahead.
What was that reason?
The person who was against it?
Yes.
So I'm gonna frustrate you a little bit here, Mark. I specifically asked the person in question if, I don't know, I guess I can answer your question. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. They did not believe it was an appropriate focus of time. They didn't think it was going to be successful as is currently outlined. And they didn't believe because it wasn't going to be successful that it was a very good use of our time and we should be doing other things. All right. So, and if that person is watching or listening, I was paying real close attention. I hope I represented what you had said appropriately. So moving on, people who are in favor of it, some conversations started to snowball. And these are private citizens who are coming up to me individually. I need to stress that what happened next is not something I initiated. There are people who have come to me and suggested, because there is a little bit of a startup cost on this, I estimated that also with the signs that are required legally and the possibility of the village getting the Dora cups to jumpstart, okay, I estimate the total around that to be around $500. I feel it's a pretty small investment to take a shot at this. But I had some citizens coming up to me who wanted to donate toward that cause to defray the village's cost on that, which I was not expecting at all. There had been some talk of a fundraiser event to defray this cost, and I don't even know how the village can accept. I'm sure there's a way. I just don't even know what it is. And there was some talk of a kickoff event or events. It was kind of loose talking, but when if the Dora were to become a thing, about having an initial event, a kickoff event, when the weather gets warm, maybe toward the beginning of May. So there's, I should also, in fairness, say that the person I spoke to today who was against it knows me well enough to know that I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. And they said, in fairness, I should go check out Facebook because there were other negative comments. Well, there were comments both positive and negative. But when I informed the person today that they were the first negative comment I had gotten, they said, in fairness, I should check out Facebook, which I will swallow my bile and attempt to do that in the fairness for the people of the village. At any rate, trying to cover everything I've heard, it's been just go straight up by numbers because it's hard to go quality. Lots more positive than negative, but I'm also very much not done pounding the square, talking to people. Specifically, if anybody's listening and they're a lawyer and they have an office on the square, you and I have the exact same business hours, and so you're never there when I knock. So if you ever want to talk to me about it, please email or I'll try to call or something like that. That's where I'm at with, well, I'll just stop right there for now. Is that good enough?
Are you done?
Right.
Can I ask some questions?
Absolutely, Mark, yeah.
All right. You have no exact numbers?
I can calculate them in about a minute and a half if you give me
Well, no.
Okay.
I have a great idea.
Okay.
I have a great idea. Let's take a Facebook poll. That's a joke from a prior
Thank you.
council member. Anyway, I hope you're watching. Anyway, was drunk driving ever brought up? Because I'm worried about driving under the influence of something.
Okay.
And that's a serious question.
No,
I was
absolutely.
joking about that first comment.
So it was never brought up by anyone I spoke to, but you're bringing it up, so I would like to address it real quickly.
Okay.
When you have a DORA, it changes none of the laws of the land in any way, shape, or form. So in the same way that you could leave a bar here in the village and not be appropriate to drive and get in trouble, same thing with this. It would not affect that at all.
So the only law that that changes is open container, right? Because
But it's not open container.
Oh.
You have to have the door.
Okay.
Specifically.
What happens if they step 1 foot out of the line are they being arrested or what, cited or what?
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of harsh, but then again, I'm against the whole thing.
Right, yeah. So the answer to that would be the exact same as it would be if the door didn't exist. It would be at the discretion of the officer. So for example,
Okay,
if I was in my front
That's
yard,
cool.
yeah, and I had a drink and I stepped on the sidewalk,
That's cool.
technically I could be cited. Maybe if I was being belligerent or something like that,
That's
I would, yeah.
I
So-
just want to get all this out to the public.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I greatly admire your undertaking in this. I think anything this council does that has any idea to bring new business into town, whether I agree with it or not, we need to look into that. If it's a good idea or if it's a bad idea, there is no bad idea until it's actually looked into.
Legit. Thank you, Mark.
One thing I'll tell you, Mark, I was doing some research online and I think it was kind of an informal survey or whatever, but I did read an article about the doors around the Cincinnati area. And there has been no increase in public intoxication, public fights, drunken driving. There's not been any increase at all in those. So, take
Okay.
it for what it is.
Okay.
Okay, next on the list, and somebody's got my one with my scribble on it. The next thing's fireworks. I think Art mentioned this before. No, Ned Lodwood came to a council meeting and talked about they wanted to do fireworks again for Grant's birthday. They did it last year. It was a really big success. And even though they're not doing the whole year thing like they did, they will be doing Grant Days. And they would like to have something on the square. They're talking about maybe some music ahead of time by the Pedagogos. And then maybe 10 minutes between Grant and Lincoln, nothing wrong, just like a 10-minute kind of thing. And then fireworks. And they were hoping that the village would donate money to that. So I talked to Ned today and I asked him what kind of money they were talking about. And he said last year it cost $9,500 to $10,000. And he said if we would split it 50-50. So they're asking for about $5,000 from council. So Art said if we're going to do it, we need to decide because he's got to get stuff ordered next week. So, I don't know how y'all feel about that. Sure.
Thinking back what I remember from last year, didn't the village have to front the cost of the whole fireworks in order for it to be covered by the insurance?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure.
Because you made a commitment to a certain amount of money to be donated to the process, but I think 10,000 had to be pulled out to pay for the fireworks direct to make it part of
I
the,
think we paid fully for the fireworks, I
and it
think.
had to do with
So
insurance.
it may have to be, we pay for it and they pay us.
Could well be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's,
Which wouldn't have been the case last year. Because
No,
it
we
was
paid
100%
last
donated.
year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was actually a larger amount that was donated, but that part was, part of it was donated and part of it was held back to pay for the fireworks because of the insurance.
Okay. I just remember the number 10,000. I remember that number distinctly. Yeah.
I'm texting Art.
Okay.
I do not know that that's, I don't know. We'll find out. That's a good question.
While you're texting Art, are you asking about how we feel about that?
Yes.
I don't think you can. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think if you were just looking at it, even in terms of just straight up money, it's a great idea. But if you're looking at it in terms of like return on investment of people coming down and having fun, I mean, you can't buy that kind of thing. So I'm totally for it.
People came in and ate and,
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry.
Now go right ahead, Mark.
And here's how I look at it. Jeremy and I come at it from different angles. He cares about people having fun he probably cares about business it's going to bring to Georgetown. I think it's going to bring a lot of business to Georgetown. Not new business. I want no Facebook comments about what new businesses it's going to bring. I mean, business to existing businesses. More people at one spot brings more business to existing businesses. Therefore, I'm all for it.
I thought I would bring it up tonight for council to vote on because Art said they will, you really need to get, and I've just, Art said no, the contract just has to be in our name.
Okay.
So we can do that.
We've come off of 2 real big years with our bicentennial with
Yeah.
huge fireworks, the grand celebration, pretty good sized fireworks display, not as big as the bicentennial. I think this one this year is going to be a little lesser as far as subdued because it's a 1-day event, I think.
Yes.
But they still want something very similar to what was on the square for the grand celebration.
And I also think if this is starting to become a pattern, people are going to start to plan to come down for, you know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what we
There's
want.
been talk about some kind of a community event out at the park sometime during the summer and having fireworks there.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I know it's been talked about for a couple of years since the bicentennial, but obviously nothing has been planned or whatever. So, I think, I shouldn't say I appreciate them because it's their event. It is their event and they're putting 50% up, but it's also a community event that will bring people in. And I think we need to support it, and 50-50, I think that's a great idea. Okay. Port Authority. There's not much, I don't think, to talk about with that.
There will be an ordinance brought this evening by Solicitor Braun as a
Yeah.
first reading for a Port Authority for us to consider.
Did we want to talk at all about that or just wait? Is there anything anybody wanted to bring up about it?
Before my answer was yes, this is why I'd suggest putting it on here, but the Utilities Committee didn't meet and it might have affected that comment. So I'm going to now sit back and say, I don't have anything at this point in time for that.
Mark, did you want to bring something up on the Port Authority?
Just I'm coming up with some ideas and they're just ideas of how to bring business in Georgetown.
And how to get some money to the Port Authority.
Yeah.
Right. Is that fair? Because you and I have talked. Yeah, and how to bring some money into the
Well, I
Port
think that's what
Authority.
Jeremy was talking about with
Okay.
utilities,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just wait on it.
Right.
I
Okay.
think so, yeah.
Basketball court. Okay. It's been planned to redo the basketball court out at Hanlon Park for a couple of years, and it's not been done. We got about $3,300 from McDonald's when they did their reopening thing. People donated money that we have on hand for that. I know that Ron Garbutt, I think it's the Baptist church out on the
Free
corner
Soil.
of Free Soil, and that they wanted to donate some. I swore I would never do this again, but here I am. They've released the numbers for the NatureWorks grants, and it's for $21,000. It would allow us to tear up the old one, completely redo it, repaint it, new poles, new baskets. Art was just talking about the surface, not worried about any of the other. We already have the matching funds. So, because between the church, McDonald's, and our in-kind work that we would have with our employees, like tearing it up and stuff,
Yeah.
we already have 25% match. Now, I will tell you, I've been contacted by council members of 2 different villages about the grant, and one asked if I would write it, or if I did write them, if I would be interested. And I said, no. I said, because that would be a conflict with Georgetown. I don't know that this is the particular grant they were talking about, but our chance, and I said this about Splash Pad, our chances of getting this are slim because we've had it like 6 out of the last 7 times. And when they score them, what they do is you lose 2 points for every year you've had it. And one of the villages that talked to me has not had it since 2011, and the other one's never had it. So if we would lose 14 points, I mean, that's pretty. But anyway, I've done this grant so much I can do it in my sleep. It's not a big deal. I don't know if y'all are interested in doing that. To me, it's attractive because it's enough to completely redo the thing. And we basically already have the match. I mean, it's no money from the village at all. So I don't know how y'all feel about that.
So I'm positive, but I also, who's writing grant?
I would write this
Now I'm
one.
100% in favor
Yeah,
of it.
no, I would write this one. I'm not writing it for somebody else. I'm not
Okay.
writing it for another village, but I would write this one.
I was just wondering if you were.
I got this grant down pat.
I thought you was pointing to one of us, is what I thought you was doing. Okay, then I'm 100% in favor.
I agree with Jeremy.
Well, I'll bring that up tonight too. That'll allow Art to start getting, like I say, I'm not optimistic, but I kept telling everybody we weren't getting the splash pad either, but things happen and who knows. How much time do we have?
624.
Oh, okay, we're doing pretty well. Let's skip the next one about we can talk about it, come back. I think I brought it up the last time. We have another new office opening. John Walker is opening an attorney's office where Tom Grinnon's building. And I think the chamber is doing the grand opening from them. I've still not heard from Custom Print on us doing a grand opening. But I would, any ideas anybody has, even if they already have a grand opening, some way that we could welcome them, let them know, we know you're here. We're glad you're here. So I don't know if anybody's got any ideas now, but that's something I'd like to talk about maybe at the next meeting or something.
Okay.
We need to talk about goals for 2023. I just put down 3 things that, are goals for me. I didn't put any necessarily objectives or tasks to get there, but I think that downtown revitalization, which I think is probably going to be a part of the Appalachian grants, that was supposed to be on tonight, but Art's not here, and I want him to talk about that. We still need to do a 5-10 year park plan. That has got to be done before that other side of that park is open, because the first one was not. And I know Mark's got a suggestion.
I've got a few actually. But is that going to be written down somewhere and documented? Or okay, because I've
Absolutely.
been really thinking about that because that's exciting. It's really,
Good.
really exciting.
Yeah, it will be. But I know that Kelly had brought up, our work sessions, council-wide, we're all going to be doing that as a council, but we need to do it as a committee too.
Right.
So any other goals or that y'all think we need to be addressing, next, let's really concentrate the next time on welcome ideas for businesses, the goals for 2023. And one of the other things is approved communications and cooperation with businesses. I think we've got a disconnect. Usually when I hear complaints about something from a business person or that, and it's something we could help with, I tend to hear it third hand. And they just, You know, I helped one a few years ago with something, and I said, why didn't you come to council? Why didn't you? And she said, because I didn't think anybody cared. That's a terrible thing for a business person to say about council, because we do care. One of the things I had thought about in the past, one of the things I've always wanted to do is just have like at the coffee shop or Parker's or Ulysses, you know, have a couple of us go one night, you know, say Tuesday nights from 7 to 8 or 7 to 8:30 or something, you know, meet a council member or members or talk to council. And who wants to do it can do it, and who doesn't want to do it doesn't have to do it. Focus mainly on businesses, but it could be individuals too. But just something that we've got to do. Maybe we need a business committee with some council liaison. Maybe, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. And maybe the best thing to do is ask businesses what works for you the best.
I like that idea. Jordan Dorsey, is that his name?
Yes.
He had a great idea. Meet council night at Ulysses. I did that. I'm very antisocial, so it's hard for me to just walk up unless I really know somebody to say, hi, how are you? What do you want council to do? I feel much more comfortable in that, where people would come to our table and say, this is what you can do for us, rather than, hi, my name's Mark Anderson. What can I do for you? Because I'm just terribly antisocial.
Well, and it's hard for some people. They might like to talk to a council member. They're not going to come here, and they don't know any of us well enough or whatever. But I mean, you get a group of people talking, they may chime in. And I mean, I don't know. Like I say, maybe a committee with a council liaison, maybe. I mean, I don't.
Can't hurt to try.
Yeah. Like
So
I
we're-
said, maybe the best thing to do is ask business people what would work for them.
Is that going to be brought up at the general meeting?
I wasn't going to
Okay.
until we talked about it a little more.
Okay. We're going to bring it up again in one of these committees. Okay, that's
Okay.
cool. I really like that idea.
I would suggest, Nancy, that, because I know somebody who's done it before, Mike, when he was running for council, I believe it was before he was elected. It might also have been after, but I think it was before he was elected, did something like that at Cherry Street, where he was inviting people, just sit down, talk, blah, blah, blah. So you might want to, yeah. So you might want to touch base with him, what worked, what didn't, what we can mimic in that setup or whatever. Throwing it out there.
Okay, good idea. And then things that were addressed in 2022, I went through the minutes today. The courthouse parking congestion, restrictions on solar panel, and I know, Jeremy, you're not on Facebook, and I don't know how much you are, Mark, but there's a meeting February 14th at the Bethel Tate Fire Department. I think it was precipitated by the big farm that is kind of Claremont and Brown County, and there have been some very vocal people. Now, this is talking big acreage, you know, this is not talking,
I saw your
but we
post.
do have some acreage in this town that people own that, you know, if we don't want them to be able to do that, we may need some restrictions. I don't know if that's something zoning would have to address or what, but I think that's something we talked about. And
Better be proactive than reactive, right?
well, yeah.
Mhm.
And we talked about it, and then it got lost in the food truck
would bring-
event.
Where do we go from that? Because I saw your post, and that's kind of scary.
Oh, there's one up, I think it's the one, it's either the one up by Mount Orb or the one that runs from Sardinia to over to Highland County. One of them went bankrupt. I think that's one of them north of Mount Orb. Went bankrupt, and it's just, and the other one's been bought by a Canadian firm.
Okay, so where do we go? Is that going to be brought up in the
I
general
think we need
session?
to talk to Joe maybe, and see what other places have. I mean, people will say, well, you don't have the acreage. That's not true. Delbert's got over 100 acres in town. Dunn's have, I can't remember how many. They don't have 100, but they're up there. There's several people that have 50 or more acres. I mean, let's take care of it before.
Yeah, I'm with you because I'm worried about people's property values.
Absolutely, it kills property values. And it's not a real big thing for us, but one, you know, of course, I don't want solar panels on historic buildings, but,
Nothing's a big deal until it's a big deal.
well,
So-
absolutely.
So like being smart about it ahead of time is
Yeah.
probably not a bad
And the
idea.
only house we have that's using solar is right next door to me.
Mhm.
Doesn't bother me at all. If you didn't know the solar panels were there and you drove by, you wouldn't even know they were there. And I'm looking right out of my side window. You know, just nothing to it.
Yeah.
Back park entrance, Mark. You're the one that brought that up, and we kind of let it die. And nothing, they never put signs or anything up back there, did they?
I don't think so.
We talked about speed
Speed
bumps.
bumps. I think those speed bumps are great, but I understand with the equipment that Art has, the people use speed bumps, probably not such a good idea, but how about rumble strips? Would that tear the machines up?
They couldn't
Because Ripley
because
has.
they use them on 68.
Yeah, Ripley has them on rumble strips. They're on 60. They've had those for as long as I've been alive, I think.
The ones
Well-
on 125, right when you turn off by home place. And you're on 68, 125, and you turn to go to a Russellville right there, coming up the hill. They've had those there forever. And
Right.
you know they plow that.
Well,
When it
68 and what is that, 125?
Mhm.
There's always rumbles. There've been rumble
Right.
strips there since I was learning to drive when I was 18.
Yep.
I think rumble strips and signs. I mean, I know people don't pay attention to signs, but still. And especially when there's ball games and that, if there'd be some more patrol or stuff. But anyway, if anybody else has any other ideas, I'll ask Art about the rumble strips and the signs and that. And the last thing is we talked about historic buildings protection. You know, I had brought up the certified local government. I think I gave all my paperwork and that to Jeremy when he first got on.
Sitting right there.
Oh, you know,
Mhm.
so that's something else for us to talk about. So I don't know if we want to, you know, the next meeting, I certainly want to talk about the welcoming businesses and then the goals that we all want. And especially the communications and cooperation with business, how to proceed. So do we want to set priorities on what we want to talk about the next meeting, or do we, I mean, there's a lot on this paper.
Hmm.
You know, we've got a little time. You want to talk about back entrances more? Or the solar panel restrictions?
So I'm trying to think about impact and immediacy, which things are going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. At which point, and disagree with me if you want to, solar panel restrictions, I'm not going to say that that's unimportant, but I also don't think it's time critical.
Right.
As much time critical. We got to do it for sure. Courthouse parking congestion. In a strange coincidence, I was actually just talking to Chief Freeland about that today in a really random coincidence, which makes it jump more toward the front of my mind as something that's more immediate.
And I think what had been talked about the last time is I'd still like to do not a roundabout, but a square about, just because I kind of like a square about. No, it would take care of the problem. But I
One
was
way
talking
around.
about, Yeah,
Yeah.
just one way all the way around. I don't see where that would create a problem because the way they're parked, you can only go one way at a time anyway.
Correct.
I think Art had talked about redoing the striping and angling them more, and that would give more space. It's really a problem on Grant and Cherry because those roads are more narrow than
Correct.
Apple and
Me.
especially Main Street.
Yeah.
And Apple Street's a problem. You know, we put the sign up and that compact cars only, but you still every once in a while will get a truck or a van that sticks out or a car that decides to stop 5 feet from the curb and just parks halfway out in the street.
Well, and Apple Street's a little bit benefited because they got the pocket parking on the other side, where you got the sidewalk that dips in on
Yes.
the courthouse side. So it's, I mean, you're still 100% right, but at least it's not as bad as Cherry or Grant.
Yeah, they're the two worst.
Yeah.
See, I like the one way idea where Art was gonna restripe the lines, so it'd be one way around the whole way around.
So you're talking about both. He was going to restripe, but not do the one way. I mean, it's really hard to get two cars passing
Yeah, I
right
think it
there.
needs to be one way. I don't know how you all feel about that, but I think it needs to be one way.
I don't think we want to cut down on parking around the square because of businesses and the courthouse. And I don't know how many spots we'd lose if they angled those more. I mean, maybe we'd only lose one on a side. I don't know.
If you angle them, or if you make the
Yeah,
arrow
that
nang,
makes-
yeah.
That makes sense. Angled a little different. You'd only lose like 2 or 3. I got you there. I like that.
But if we do it one way, see, I don't know because then they'd be both angled the same way. Whereas this, they're angled this way. They would be both angled this way if we do one way. I don't know if that's worse or better.
If we if we knock down Merchants Row and built a parking deck, then
That'd be a great idea. Yeah, it's a good idea, Jeremy.
Yeah, I'm full of
That was Jeremy Varner, Varner. He lives on North Main Street.
That was a good answer.
I mean, I can't think of anything else. Can you all? Because it's terrible.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
You know, it's weird because this problem can't, like, this is one of the oldest problems in American municipal history, going all the way back to like, you know, colonial Massachusetts, stuff like that. There's got to be, if there's any other possibility, there's got to be out there somewhere. We should do some
Most-
research on it.
As I think about towns with courthouses on a square, most of them are one way around.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think our biggest problem is the narrowness of the streets. So I will bring that back to Art's attention. And I'll bring both of those suggestions up.
Would make police chases around the square a lot more interesting.
Oh,
You
absolutely.
just go around and around, just like in Blues Brothers. Yeah. But, okay, so that's that. So are we kind of agreeing that to put that on to move that up the list in priority?
I think so. It's been a problem forever.
Yeah.
And I think the back park entrance,
How about,
I think the rumble strips and signs.
may I speak?
Yes, sir.
This is just an idea. Like I said, no idea is a bad idea unless it is actually a bad idea. Farmers market, I don't know anything about bringing on farmers market. You do, because you have a lot more experience than I do, or I think Jeremy does. Is that a lot of work, or how do we go about doing
Yeah,
that?
the farmers, well, I don't know that you want the village to be in charge of it.
No, I just want somewhere for people to
What
be
they
able to
did
buy
before is
their
they had an
vegetables.
organization,
Okay,
and the organization had to have insurance. And every vendor, every week they participated would give like $5. And that ended up everybody covering all their insurance. Started out years and years and years ago. Didn't they have it up in front of the courthouse? And then it was over where Merchants Bank is now, that vacant lot. And they would line up right on Main Street. And what I have heard happened, what you would do is you get some vendors that would do really, really well. And then they would take off to Newtown's Market or Findlay Market's Market or someplace else. They kind of get their training here, get everything worked out, and then they would go to busier and more. And eventually they were down to just a handful, and it kind of died. And then I think Jay Staker tried to bring it back alive up there where Bicentennial Park is. And he may have had it once or twice that summer, and it didn't work very well. So really what you need an organization, you need somebody who's willing to do it.
So that's nothing we want to, because I don't think the town should be in charge of that.
No, I think farmer
I
markets
just-
are great, but I don't think they should be town sponsored.
I got you. I just want to put that out on the web, wherever
Yeah.
I'm going to.
But if somebody else wants to do it,
Right.
they would need to talk to Art about what they can do, how they can do. They probably have to fill an event form out.
Right. Right.
They'll have to have insurance.
I just want somewhere where people can buy their vegetables on a farm.
Absolutely.
I mean, all vegetables, I guess, are on a farm, but
Yeah.
homegrown vegetables.
I think
are better.
CDS in Bethel, don't they have it there in Bethel a lot?
They used to, do they still?
They did last summer. I was there, and also there where Richard's Supply is, where they have those trailers. I think they had some set up there too.
Yeah.
And I will say, and I'm not volunteering anybody, but I'm just saying you can make this a lot easier in some ways if it involves private property. For example, and
Absolutely.
I'm not trying to suggest anything, but Merchants National Bank with that big parking lot, that's where they used to meet. If they met there, it's easier.
Well, they
But
used to
but
meet,
that's private property. I'm not suggesting anything.
and they used to meet at Palmyra there at the
Oh, that's right.
Palmyra parking.
But I
lot a
think he
billion
told them they
years ago.
couldn't do that anymore.
Okay, well, you
That's
know
what's
more
right.
about it than I do. and
It
I'm-
seems to me, because I asked them, I said, what happened out at Palmyra? And they said, oh, he told them they couldn't do that.
Okay,
And then
if I put anything out there that's,
Taco Bell came
I'm
along.
sorry, but I just think it's a great idea if somebody wants to undertake.
Oh, I think it is too.
Mhm.
I think it really is too. Out on, when you go out East State Street and they're right across from stop sign, turn on 68, a lot of times there'll be a trucker that over there that has a variety of vegetables and stuff. And I mean, you'll see them outside of
Yeah, I know
town
what you mean.
sometimes set up here, there, wherever. But I don't know why, but it hasn't seemed to do all that well here. But if anybody is interested in it, please do it. Excuse me, I think it's a great idea. I would like to end this a little early. I've been here since 4 o'clock.
I have two questions I
Yes.
have been asked to bring. I think they'll both be pretty quick, but,
Sure.
so I had someone in town, come to me with two questions, considering what's going to be going on in the big meeting tonight. Splash pad.
Yes,
Question number one is the Rumpke money.
yes.
Is all of the Rumpke money going toward the splash pad?
If that's what council wants to do, when we floated the idea, everybody, we didn't vote, but we gave a consensus, yes.
Okay, but I thought we'd also raised money.
We've raised some.
Okay, so here, let me rephrase the question. Is that project missing the full amount?
Yes.
Okay, there we go. That's what the question was coming out from the person that was asking me. Second question, do you know, and I think this is an art question, because I tried to answer it, but I think it's an art question. Is that going to be a recirculating pump that they're going to get to use
No.
that? It's not going to be a
No.
recirculating pump.
It's not going to be recirculating.
So it's going to be, going to impact the village's water bill? That was the question.
Yeah, it cost, I checked with places that have already had them for a few years.
Yeah, cool.
And they say the electricity averages about $1,000 a season and the water averages about $1,000 a season. Recirculating is much more expensive because of the
is.
cost of chemicals, the cost of somebody having to be there to keep up with it. So I can't think what they call that, what they call those, but no, it will not be recirculating.
Thank you. If that person was not watching, I'll get back a hold of them. But of course, my saying that is meaningless because they're not watching, right?
Yeah. But yeah, we looked at both kinds and I did an awful lot of research into both
Yeah.
systems and that, but that's what was, we decided was the most efficient for the village.
Thank you.
And
That's all.
that should be, the plan is they finally, the company was waiting and waiting. They couldn't get the parts in, but I understand they've got all the parts in now. And we've gotten our first invoice from them. And the goal is it is open the first day of the season, whenever that may be, whenever it gets warm enough. And one thing people don't understand with when you say, it's fresh water, if you can set it so it only runs for like 15 minutes and then you have to go hit the thing again. It won't run when there's nobody there. You can also turn the pressure down so you're using more water. And you can turn it down. People won't even be able to tell. The kids won't even be able to tell the difference. So there are a lot of ways that you can control the water usage. But yeah, somebody has to hit it like every 15 minutes or that. So it's kind of controlled. We can set a lot of controls on it.
Good deal. All right. I was just like to say something that somebody asked me to bring up.
Sure. Anything else?
No.
So the next meeting I'm going to bring the fireworks up and the basketball court grant. And the next meeting will concentrate on courthouse parking congestion, the back park entrance. We also need to start thinking about our goals and some ideas for welcoming businesses.
You're gonna talk to Joe about the solar panel thing?
Yeah, I'll ask him
Okay,
about that.
because I read your post, that's scary.
Yeah, I just, it may never be a problem, but
Well,
let's do it before it is a
Yeah,
problem.
I'm like, let's be proactive instead of reactive.
Absolutely.
I would also say this, Nancy, for better or for worse, rich or poor or whatever, I would suspect the CDC meeting to have the DORA thing on there. Do we move forward or not?
Okay.
Because then that would be something that if yes, then to council going forward.
Okay.
So
All righty. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
second,
All in favor? Aye.
Yes.
still live though.
We are adjourned.
We have adjourned. It's still live. We got it, Brian?
Oh, hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying your